Welcome back to the Vegans Who Live podcast. We are your hosts. I am Brooke, otherwise known as Miss Meatless Muscle, and I'm joined by John Thomas, the Bodybuilding Vegan. And today we are talking meal prep hacks, everyone's least favorite thing to do when it comes to getting in shape.
Yes, and we're gonna make it the best, least favorite it can be. Um,
I don't know about you, but that's like the number one complaint that I get is almost always people don't want to meal prep. And I get it. I mean, it's not the most fun thing to do in the world.
yeah, some of us are lucky to have a significant other or meal prep service so that meals are delivered on time. But if you're starting on your journey and you can't lean on somebody else in that way, or aren't trying to spend as much money on a meal prep service, I'll shout out to Crave prepped meals in Florida. That's one that I use. But for many years, I had to cook all my own stuff, and I'm actually kind of going back to that method now, just because I like to have that control over what I'm eating. So I figured, and Brooke figured, this would be a really valuable episode. This is season five, episode 2, and I think all of the seasons so far have generated a lot of value for you guys, and we're kind of digging deeper to find out areas that we might have missed or that we could further expand upon. And I think meal prep hacks, that's huge. It's huge. So even if you don't do all your own meal prep right now, I think you'll get a lot of value out of this episode. At least I've got some cool things to bring to the table, and I know Brooke, so I know she does too.
And
Um,
quickly, if you've been with us since season 1, please leave us a review. It really helps us out if you leave us a review, give us 5 stars, and also leave us a question. So get involved. If you guys have been with us this long, we want to hear from you.
yes. It's weird because like we just sit here and talk to each other and we don't always get feedback. Sometimes you'll send a really nice DM, but we would love questions and we'd really love reviews. So please take 2 minutes out of your day to do that. That would be phenomenal for us. Um, I want to have the question game, and since we don't have the question game questions made up, I'm just going to make up a question. It is the start of the new year. Somehow, as of recording this, we're already 9 days in. It's flying by extremely fast. So very soon I'll be like, Brooke, it's the end of the year. Holy shit, where'd it go? But before we get there, Brooke, I'm going to ask you a question. What, because I know you normally set goals and stuff, what are either the major goal or one of the goals that you set for this year for 2025?
Major goals. Okay, so I'm releasing my first cookbook um this month. So
It was right
stay.
in line with meal prep.
Yes, definitely. So that is exciting. I've wanted to do that for a long time, and I've had people ask me, countless times if I would come out with a cookbook, and it took some time. We had some delays and some hiccups along the way, but we're finally ready, and Sean is in the process of getting it up on Amazon right now, and then we'll be good to go. So that was a big goal I had this year. Um, I really want to step on stage again. I'd like to do my first national show. That's a goal. I don't really have a goal of like, I'm not going to say I'm going to get my pro card. I'm not even going to say I'm going to get first call outs, anything like that. I just want to do a national show and just see how I do and get my feedback. And then based off my feedback, I'm going to decide what I want to do. If I want to keep going, if I want to hang up my heels and focus on something else. Um, and I'd really like to travel out of the country again. I'm thinking I may go to Greece this year after I'm done with my competition season and just continue to grow my business. I loved our business academy last year. That was awesome. We did 2 last year. I'd really like to do 3 this year if we can fit it in and make it work with our schedules. Continue to grow the podcast, and yeah, that's my radar for 2025 so far.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, we'll definitely have 3 academies. We're actually gearing up for the next one right now. I don't know if you all hear it before this episode, but we got a webinar coming out. If you're interested in that, you can DM one of us. Even if it's already been released, we might have a recording for you. Um, Definitely going to do that. I'm stoked for you to go to Greece. You haven't been to like Europe or like that side of the pond before, have you?
Nope.
Yeah, it's a whole. Well, I've never been to Greece, but it's a whole new world, and like it's cool for so many reasons. One, the people are different. You get to see how worlds are just set up differently. Like I remember, I'm sorry, I'm going to be on a tangent here, but in Germany, like your stop, like the lights, they go green, orange, red, and then you're sitting there waiting, and then it goes orange, green. So like you get a little orange light to let you know it's about to go green because almost everybody over there has a stick shift. So they'll put it in first gear. And it's like a little it's like we could do that here so easily. Like give people because it turns green and then you gotta honk at the guy because they waited 8 seconds and the light's about to turn orange again. But anyways, I get off that high horse. But the architecture and things along those nature is so cool as well because in the United States, unless you visit some Native American sites, really about as old as you can get is St. Augustine, Florida, like in the 1600s when that was started. But in Europe, you got things thousands of years old. So it's really cool to see that.
Yeah.
Besides, I'm sure you'll try some amazing food and do some really cool stuff. And I've heard it's beautiful in Greece. So I am stoked for you. That's a long flight. You're flying, I'm assuming.
Yes, yes, I'm not looking forward to that. I hate long flights. I mean, I hate flying, but I've heard that international flights like overseas, like over oceans like that, they're more comfortable, they're better. So I don't know. I guess I'll see.
I would say use some plant medicine and take a nice nap.
Yes. Yeah, I'll be taking a gummy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, TSA, those are my happy gummies. They're just, but yeah, that's yeah. Um, what else? Competing, that's gonna be huge for you, dude. I'm really stoked to come support. It's not every day that you get to go support a friend that's also a vegan competitor, so that'll be cool. I think I've hit on everything you said, everything that resonated. Um, Awesome. Well, I will be watching along the whole year. For myself, I've set some big goals. I would like to be a part of raising $50,000 for animal charities this year. I think last year, probably like in my life, I've done about 20,000. The head tattoo really helped. The steps for sanctuaries, we raised a few $1,000s last month. So I just need to do more. I want to do four, and I think if any of them really takes off, then we should hit it. Um, that's just kind of like a tick the box goal for me. I just would really like to do that. Um, I am going to be moving to Arizona for a couple months, so lots of hiking is on my radar, and then really just continuing to grow literally everything I'm a part of. I want to help all my sponsors this year. Shout out to like Veg, thank you for bringing me on. Say Grace, Green Bites, all of these awesome companies that support us. Um, been working a little bit with Pal. We'll hopefully be able to expand upon that later. Grow the podcast. I've been checking the metrics pretty much weekly, and I see our growth. I even see when we had a slight break for like a week, we still grew on that week. So we really have momentum here. Thank you guys for leaving reviews. You're helping. And the last thing, I've hired an employee in Africa named David, and he is quite possibly one of the kindest people I've ever met. He told me that something had been bothering him for a couple weeks and he needed to make it right. He said he saw all the work we did for the steps for sanctuaries, but that he didn't have enough money at the time to pay for it. So to like donate. So he asked if I could take money out of his paycheck to go to steps for sanctuaries after the date and donate to Karma Farm Sanctuary. And I'm like, you're giving up 20% of your pay. And I know he needs this, but he's still coming out to support a sanctuary literally thousands of miles away from where he lives. So I asked him if he's ever been to the United States or if he'd like to come, and he said it's one of his dreams. And so I want to bring him here. I want to work with him here, get to know him a little bit better, and then potentially go back to Africa with him and get a guided vegan tour of Africa with somebody that speaks the language and knows the land and can show me around. I think that'd be really cool. And then maybe bring him back here permanently if all goes well. So David, if you're listening, I love you, bro. But yeah, on my to-do list of a few big things this year. So it's gonna be a big year.
Cool. Oh,
Yeah.
what country's he in?
I need to look that up. I mailed Lagos is
Well,
the
okay.
city, I think. Lagos. I mailed him a shirt. Actually, same shirt I'm wearing. Shout out to Nick from the Vegan Halal Cart. I think it's Lagos, but it's not something I'm intimately familiar with, to be honest. I
Okay.
need to
Yeah.
get better with geography. I barely know. People are like, "Where you live in Tampa?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just by the stadium." Uh, okay, all right. Time to deliver value. We've talked about ourselves enough. I've talked about ourselves enough. Meal prep hacks. Okay, where do we want to start with this? Because I have so many ideas.
What about appliances? You want to start with appliances?
Yes.
I think that's a
Um,
good one.
Man, all right, I'm gonna throw this out there. It's not exactly meal prep, like prep for a whole week, but I think if you're a bodybuilder, you should have a blender. I mean, you should have a
Yeah.
blender. And if you want to go to the next level, like bro, I can get a Ninja Creamy to make like super cool stuff, do that. But even just a general blender. And you know what, guys? If you're not made of money, I bet Facebook Marketplace, you can find people that are moving all the time. You can find a blender on that. Like it's not that hard to find a blender. I've had time where my teeth, I had work done on my teeth, and it wasn't exactly the most fun thing in the world, but I blended my meals during my bodybuilding prep. I blended like rice and seitan and beans
Oh my
and kind of
God.
made soup. But you know what? I didn't miss a damn meal for 22 weeks. I did everything right. So I'm not suggesting anybody else do that, but it's an option. Um, I'll say if you're me, 2 microwaves, because I've had a microwave break while I was using it once. It was like a frozen, like I had no other way to cook this food. So I had to drive to Walmart and buy a microwave. So now I have 2 microwaves in case one breaks. Might be a little ridiculous, but that's me. And then I'll let you list the next most essential.
Yeah, those are good. I feel like if you're meal prepping and you're in this for the long run, I think it's really worth investing into an instant pot. I think those are just life saving. Like especially during the cold months, you can make like soups and stuff. So a lot of times, like before I go to the gym, I'll just put something in the instant pot. By the time I come back, it's like ready to eat. So and you don't even have to make like a whole meal in there. You can make rice in there. Like I steam my green beans in there, Brussels sprouts, broccoli. Like you could just cook literally anything in there. So I think it's a really good tool for meal prep because you could just do so many things with it, and you can keep food really clean without any oil or anything like that. So highly recommend. They're pretty, I think, reasonably priced on Amazon.
I have a confession. I've never used one. Never.
They're awesome. I think you would like one.
Do you have any recipes in your cookbook with them?
I sure do. Yes, a lot of
That's gonna
them.
be a 2025 resolution. Try one of Brooke's recipes in the instant pot.
Yeah, Instant
um,
Pot's awesome.
are those? See, this is my own limitations here. Are those the same as like a pressure cooker where it uses pressure, or is it just heat, like a
Yeah,
rice
it
cooker?
is. Yeah, it is. It's basically a pressure cooker, and the one that I have, it has a couple different settings. So you can do pressure cook, you could do slow cook. So it also has kind of like a crock pot function. It has a saute function, it has a steaming function. So, you could just do like so many things with it. It's just really cool.
Okay, I need
I
to
love
try
it.
this. You said you can make rice in it though.
Yeah, you can make rice. So I make rice in it every week.
Okay.
And see, I think it's beneficial to have like multiple appliances if you can swing it, if you have the counter space, or just the cabinet space to store stuff away. Because I feel like if the more things that you have going at one time, like if you're, really busy trying to meal prep, like you can have your tofu in the oven or your veggies in the oven, seitan in the oven, you can have your rice cooking in the instant pot or like you can have multiple things going at one time. So I feel like it's helpful to have like an extra appliance like that.
Yeah. you could like cook your protein in there. And then if you have a rice cooker on the side, that's how I do it. Like I have a rice cooker right now. I'll make my rice in the bottom, and then there's a veggie bag or a veggie box, veggie spot slightly above it, and I'll put the veggies in there. So I'll do like 5 days of rice and 5 days of veggies all at once. And then on the stove, usually my Say Grace, I'll do like 5 days worth of that. So literally in like 30 or 45 minutes, I have 5 meals fully prepped and ready to go. And I guess that's not an appliance, but it is a tip, a hack. Don't ever cook for one meal. Like even just double every serving size or triple or 4 times it, and then you'll have at least one more meal to eat later, and that'll save you so much time. um Other appliances, I'm actually looking at it right now. This is just completely different, but I have a distiller for my water, so like boils the water and it evaporates, and then you have clean drinking water. A lot of cities, I've been looking into it, have a lot of added crap in your water. I don't know how it is in Georgia, but at least like in Tampa, I don't really like to drink the tap water. I like to distill it. And what else would be a good appliance? I don't know if I can.
Air fryer.
Air fryer. Yes, I had thought of that earlier and forgot it. So yes, perfect. Because then you don't really have to coat your food in a whole lot of oil. It's another appliance that you can have running. It can work if you don't have space for a toaster. You can toast stuff in an air fryer. You can make mug cakes. I've made pizza. Like you can do so much in an air fryer.
Yeah. It's funny because one time I was at this restaurant, me and Steve were at this restaurant, and sometimes there's like tables that are so loud, like you can't help but hear what they're talking about.
Mhm.
And it was after Christmas, and like this lady was like really loud talking about how she had gotten this air fryer for Christmas, and she was like talking about all these things that she had made in it, but it was like pizza and french fries and like just like all this stuff that like we don't really eat. Like it's just funny. It's just hilarious. Like the perception of an air fryer to her was like to reheat food that she had bought out, and like to me, the air fryer is like to make food healthier. You can
Yeah.
use less oil. I don't know. It was just funny to me, but you could do a lot of things with the air fryer, and like you said, it's just another appliance. So like a lot of times I really like tofu in the air fryer. I prefer tofu in the air fryer over the oven, and I make my Big Mountain Big Mountain soy free tofu. I make that in the air fryer,
Mhm.
and then I'll usually have my rice in the instant pot, and seitan I usually bake in the oven. Um yeah, so it's just another way to get a bunch of food knocked out, and depending on the air fryer, they have a good amount of space usually, so you can make a big batch of like tofu or whatever it is you want to make in there.
Yeah. 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 And it tastes so much better. Like if you don't really love tofu, try it air fried. It'll probably change it. It'll be crispy on the outside. My favorite thing is like take that big mountain tofu, put it in strips, make almost like French fries, some
Yep.
garlic and salt, and dip it in ketchup. That might sound weird, but like it's almost like a French fry to me,
I do the
and
same
it's
thing.
super high
Yep.
protein. Yeah. Um. Okay, not exactly appliance, but I think freaking necessary. A food scale. So it'll help with so many aspects of meal prep, and I'll dive into that in a minute. And then also, I would really recommend like glass Tupperware bowls to eat out of and reheat, because if you're using plastic, like it's one thing to drink out of like a plastic BPA free bottle. It's another to have a plastic container that you put in the microwave, and those plastics are going to leach out into your food. And if you're not so worried about plastic being in your food, like I understand that, but what you might not realize is like there are estrogenic properties of this plastic. So like all the people that are worried about like soy milk causing estrogen problems, or more reasonably like birth control causing estrogen problems, like, but a lot of people overlook cooking their food in plastic. So I highly recommend against that. And then also to avoid microplastics, get yourself a good wooden cutting board, not a plastic cutting board. I read, and I think this is correct, that the number one cause of intake of microplastics is cutting boards, because you can't really see it, but every time that knife goes down, it is cutting little pieces out. I mean, go look at a plastic cutting board. There's little cuts in it. And so you eating those plastics is not a good idea, even if you can't see them or taste them. Um, Anything else that they should buy or need to have on hand?
I think that's probably it. Yeah, containers. Definitely make sure you have some containers. That's just a dumb excuse not to meal prep if you don't have
Yeah.
containers, and you can get them really cheap on Amazon. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, just general, you want to do some general tips?
Yeah, I think if you're looking, I think for a lot of people, they're like, okay, you've told us how I can have the tools to make the food, but what the heck do I make? Where do I get inspiration there? One, you could go get Brooke's cookbook. That would be a great one. Two, I think you and I both post a good amount of stuff on our YouTube channels. It's like what we eat. But I recommend you have like a little folder saved on Instagram. Every time you pass by something that looks good, you can save that. And then you can kind of at the end of the week, whenever you're going to do your meal prep, maybe before you go to the store, go through and see what you want. Or you can reverse engineer it and like, this is what I have in my fridge. This is what I'm making. What I would recommend if you're just going to kind of like wing it based on what you have, start with the protein. And then that can help you build out the rest of the meal. And so what I mean by that is, let's say you're using regular tofu. Well, check the macros, look at it. Regular tofu is going to be high in protein, but it's also going to come with a good amount of fat. So then you might want to pair that with a carbohydrate source or a vegetable that's not as high in fat. Like I probably wouldn't do avocados on top of my tofu because it's going to add a lot of fat to it, but maybe I would do beans with the tofu or rice with the tofu or oats or potatoes or something else. And then that kind of gives me an idea of what I want to make. Conversely, let's say like Brooke and I really love making seitan in the oven. Seitan is just high in protein. There's not a whole lot of fats or carbs. So if you're doing seitan, then it might make sense to have like a cashew cream sauce with it or avocados with it or whatever else you want for your fat source paired along with it. So those are kind of ways that you could start to break it down. And I usually suggest starting with the protein because that's going to be the more limiting factor. Like there's so many ways you can add carbs and fats to your meals. It's a little bit harder to add proteins.
Yeah. Um, I also think just keep it simple. Like a lot of times, so I had a consult with this guy a few weeks ago, and he was transitioning to vegan actually, and his biggest pain point was that he was just spending so much time meal prepping because he would go online and he would find vegan recipes that looked really good, and he wanted to try them, but they were so many ingredients. And I said, well, that's like your first problem right there, is that you're choosing recipes that have like 25 ingredients, and even though they look good, like it's just not a recipe that is really optimal for meal prepping. So I always tell that to my clients, like if you see a recipe like that, like that's cool. Like if you want to try it, like just save it, like do it for like date night or like on the weekend or something like that. But like I think for meal prep, just keep it simple. Do a protein, a veggie, a carb, a fat, and then you just don't really have to think about it. You don't have to spend so much time in the kitchen. You don't have to buy a whole bunch of different ingredients. So I think just keeping it as simple as possible, limited ingredients, is the best way to meal prep. That's how I am. That's how I've always done it. I've never, really been like this huge elaborate recipe kind of person. Even the recipes in my cookbook, they're very minimal ingredients, very minimal time in the kitchen, because that's just, to me, what's sustainable, what's flexible, what's the easiest. So I feel like keep it simple. That's the best way to go about your meal prep.
Yeah, I think you got to be realistic with what you're going to actually make time to eat and actually eat and do. So, um I think the easiest meals, maybe we could talk like give a few easy examples. Um like one that's coming to mind for me is I used to make this. I would get have you had field roast, like the sausages that they have?
Yeah.
I used to have a different style, like an Italian sausage at Trader Joe's. So I'd get that. I'd get like red beans, I'd get rice, and bell peppers. And as weird as it sounds, I would throw all of that in a rice cooker with the right amount of water, and it would actually cook everything. So then it's like literally a full meal. You got proteins, carbs, fats, veggies, all in one big container, and then I just throw it in like 5 different Tupperwares, and I'm ready to go. So that was super duper easy meal prep, like literally one container done. Um,
That's
so I
actually
like them.
One of Steve's favorite meals is in the Instant Pot. He does rice, he does sushi rice, he does green beans, and he does that new light Impossible meat that's like less fat. It's like 60% less fat or something like that. And he just puts it all in there and it all cooks.
Yeah,
And that's his meal prep for the week.
so easy. Is that the avocado based one?
No, that's the Beyond. This is
Oh, that's
Impossible.
gone.
They came
Oh,
out with a light Impossible. It's like 60% less fat or something like that. They have it at
okay.
Sprouts. It's really good.
I need to go to Sprouts. I need to go check it out. Yeah. That's my biggest reason for like typically making my own proteins at home. I don't like that a lot of like the Impossible and Beyond options have a lot of fats added, like sunflower oils and just oils that I don't necessarily want. So for me, if I'm meal prepping at home, things like TVP, seitan, tofu, those are going to be usually my protein sources versus buying the pre-made stuff. But if you're in a pinch or you're traveling, like you can kind of meal prep even while you're traveling, especially if you get an Airbnb. And in that case, I might not have my bag of vital wheat gluten with me, and I'll just buy some pre-made meat. What's like a common one that you'll make yourself when you're meal prepping?
Mm. You know, one of my favorites is honestly, it's just well, right now it's just like this stew that I make, and it's just I buy the so this is another great meal prep hack is frozen veggies. So I buy the mixed frozen veggies. It's like carrots, it's like chopped carrots. So like the carrots are already chopped, so there's no work there. Peas, and then it's got like green beans or something else in it, and I throw that in the Instant Pot with veggie broth, and I put the Say Grace protein in there, and it's like dehydrated still and everything. You don't have to do anything. Like, you just literally throw all this stuff in the Instant Pot, and I put some spices in there, stuff like that, and then sometimes I'll put potatoes, but then sometimes I just will not. I won't add a carb to it. I'll just make the Say Grace and the veggies, and then I'll just pour it over rice. That's my favorite way to do it. And it's so easy. Like I said, I get up in the morning and like I'll just make a huge thing of it in the Instant Pot. I go to the gym. By the time I come home, it's ready, and then I just put it in a bunch of containers, and it's ready for the week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Easy, easy, no excuses. Yeah, okay, some more hacks. Some people don't know this still. It shocks them when I tell them. Frozen fruits and frozen veggies are more nutritious than fresh. Blows people's minds. They're like, that doesn't make any sense. Trust me, if you're Gordon Ramsay and you're going to make a meal for somebody you're trying to impress, fresh is going to probably taste better. But if you're low on time, you're trying to save money, and you want to be the most health conscious you can be, when they freeze these foods, they freeze them at their most ripeness, when the nutrients are still locked in there and they're flash frozen. Whereas if you go grab a banana off the shelf, or you go grab a tomato off the shelf, or a carrot off the shelf, it's been picked for probably months. Like every single banana is picked super green, and then they degrade over time after they've been picked and disconnected from their tree. So, um, frozen all the way. For beans, I know they taste great if you make them dry, but if time is a concern, I mean, you can literally eat beans out of a can, so it's super time effective. And then the biggest thing that people really worry about is like preservatives and things like that. But most canned foods, they don't need preservatives. They're heated very hot, and then they're sealed so that no bacteria can live in that super hot environment, and then they stay sealed until you open them. So if your can has like a giant dent, that's a problem, but if it doesn't, you're fine. And then people worry about the salt, but if you're an athlete or just a regular person and drinking enough water, salt is not something to be concerned about. So canned veggies, canned beans, total options, especially if you're like, well, I don't want to eat canned beans because they're not super healthy, so I'm gonna go get an Impossible Whopper. It's like, really, you really like you missed by a mile there. You
That's
were going in the right
exactly
direction.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. Don't fall on some of these like myths and misconceptions, like just as another excuse not to eat healthy. Like John said, there's so many people, and like I know because some of these people are my clients. Like sometimes my clients will be like, well, I don't want to eat canned food because that's bad. That's bad for you. Or I don't want to eat. I actually had somebody on social media arguing with me the other day that frozen fruit was processed and it wasn't good for you. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's just amazing what social media has done to people now. But, anyways, yeah, don't let that stop you from eating healthy. And then you just go, eat some junk, eat whatever because you think, eating green beans out of a can is bad. Like it's like you said, it's really not that bad at all. Like, especially if you're worried about sodium, which that's a whole nother conversation. But you can get low sodium canned goods. They have low sodium almost everything now. So in my stew that I make, sometimes I make it like a chili, and I make it kind of like Southwest flavor. Like I'll just get some taco seasoning and put that in there, and then I'll do like the low sodium black beans and put that in there, because I add sodium to it anyway. So like, yeah, I mean, canned goods, they're not bad. The same thing with the frozen. I don't know what it is now. It's just like social media has just like brainwashed people into thinking that unless they eat something like completely organic, fresh, whatever, that it's not good for you. And it's like, man, something is better than nothing. So if you have to do the canned goods, do the canned goods. I've eaten canned goods for the past 8 years, and they were, it works for me, and it saves you time. I'm sure as hell not going to go get dry beans and make them myself. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people that would be way too time consuming for them. So just get the best option. And actually, a lot of canned goods, you can get organic canned goods if that's a concern to you.
Yeah, 100%. I think beans are often overlooked as a superfood. They're looked at as a vegan or vegetarian source of protein. I don't even really look at beans from a protein perspective. Like, yes, when I track my macros, I'll include it, but I'm not basing the protein of my meal around beans. I view beans as more of like a nutritional powerhouse. They're packed with fiber. Um, they are also packed with potassium. Like a serving of beans will like, and I guess a can of beans probably has about as much potassium as like 7 or 8 bananas, and that blows people's minds. It's like they don't think of beans as a great potassium source, but it is. And if you don't know, potassium is important because it's one of the electrolytes that your body uses to perform muscular contractions and prevent cramping. So if you're not getting enough potassium, you're not going to get enough pumps in the gym. And potassium helps regulate sodium. So if you're worried about the sodium in beans, well, you're balanced out already because it comes with potassium. So if canned is the only way you can do it, great. Like I would argue, if you're like, well, what's the healthiest? Fresh green beans, frozen green beans, or canned? I would say that I would go with frozen first. And then if you don't go with frozen, go with whichever one you prefer out of the other two. Frozen is going to maybe be marginally healthier than canned, but yeah. That was a lot of good points there. I think the other thing that people really struggle with when meal prepping at home is that they just say the food doesn't taste good to them. And I think the big thing that a lot of people miss on there is how to like adequately season your food. Um, and everybody that's like, oh, vegan food doesn't taste good. It's like, well, you season your meat with things from plants. So why wouldn't plants seasoned with things from plants taste good too? So what I would do is build my spice rack based on what you enjoy and also what digests well for you. Like I love garlic and onion, fresh or powdered. I have to be a little bit careful because my body doesn't always love to eat a ton of that. Um, Other things though that I'll typically include in a meal prep, and then you can fill in any holes that I might miss, Brooke. But soy sauce that goes really good with like tofu. Taco mix could go with TVP or seitan. Italian seasoning, depending upon what you're making. Um, Liquid smoke if you're trying to make kind of like a smoky, like barbecuey flavor. all of those, some hot sauces, salt, pepper, I would have those on hand. And then if you want to add like some of the condiment side of things, there's a Heinz no sugar added or zero sugar, something like ketchup that only uses stevia to sweeten it. So that's a really good option. I will sometimes do like the sugar-free barbecue sauces. Um, but yeah, like you can use all those things to make your food taste really, really, really good. Any that I might have missed, any that you use, Brooke, outside of that?
I think that's a pretty solid list. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is people who are used to eating out a lot and eating processed foods, if you're making a transition to a healthier diet, it is going to be a little bit of a shock to you that it's just not packed with the same oils and, maybe butter, plant butter. I mean, it's just not going to have as much flavor, but there's no reason you can't add flavor at home. I don't know, did you mention lemon and lime? That can be good too.
Mm, no, those are great.
Yeah, I just started making cilantro lime rice in my instant pot, just for something different. Like I was just like, I just kind of want something different. So I just bought some fresh cilantro at the store, and I just throw some of that in there. Damn, I should have put that in the cookbook. Um, and then I squeeze like half a lime in there, and it's so good. So it's just like no added calories at all. It's just adds a little bit of flavor. And I was going to add one more tip for meal prep. Something I used to do when I was really crunched for time. I'm lucky now. I work from home, so I don't have to do as much meal prep as I used to. But I used to have to get up at like 4 in the morning, go work out, work a full day, come home, work on my business, and then go to bed. So it was a packed day. And during that time, I used to love buying like the pre-chopped veggies at the store. Like you can buy them like a little container of like chopped bell pepper and chopped onion. Um, and to me, that saved me. I mean, I don't know, maybe it saves you only a few minutes, but to me, it's like saves you a lot of
Yeah.
work and effort. It's nice not having to cut up all your produce.
Yeah, yeah, they sell like the frozen packs too, or if you prefer the
Yeah.
taste of the fresh ones, that is a time saving thing. It's like, what do you have more of? Do you have more time, or do you have more money? If you got more money, you can buy those, or even buy a meal prep service as well. I do like having the control over it, the ability to change things. Like, I don't know, if something isn't digesting well, I don't have to wait a week for my next meal plan to get delivered to change it out. Um, other Other tips, I love the lime and cilantro. That's a good idea. I wish I had thought of that. Oh, I would have added that to my last batch. I just normally do rice, and then I'll add my oils to the rice. Actually, I'll add like macadamia nut oil. That one seems to taste really good. It's kind of got like a buttery flavor. Um, for for people that are meal prepping, you can do everything through meal prep too. Like I normally do, since I work at home as well. I normally do my cream of rice and my oats like same day. But I've had times where I've traveled before and I'm like, I want my cream of rice on the road, and I'll make it and I'll put it in the fridge after and I'll cool it down, and it's kind of like a dessert. And I have videos on my YouTube channel if you guys want to see, but like you can make cream of rice at home with a blender. You can just blend your own rice, um, and then add hot water to it, cook it, and add protein powder. It's such an easy meal to make. Or you can do it with oats. You can do overnight oats. Super easy options. And like I'll just put out 5 Tupperware containers, put the same amount in each one, add the water in each one, stir each one up, and throw it in the fridge. Now I've 15 minutes. I got 5 meals ready to go. Um, the other tips that I have are like some practical tips that might help. I recommend, like I said, using a food scale. And then what I do, let's say I'm making rice, for example. If I'm smart and remember to do this, I'll take the rice cooker. Like this is if you're really good. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a tip that might help you, but you can also throw this away if you don't need it. You can take the rice cooker and weigh it. Like, let's say my rice cooker weighs, not the whole cooker, but the pot, it weighs 500 grams. And then I put all my rice in there and I cook everything up. And I've made 5 servings. And I put the whole thing back on the food scale. It says 1,500 grams. Well, I do the math. I go subtract the 500 for the rice cooker. I normally take a photo. That way I can see the weight on the scale. And then, like, I don't have to remember. And then that means I have 1,000 grams of rice left. And so I'll just pull out 200 and put it in each one of my containers. That's if you're like in prep and like really trying to be nitty gritty. But really, guys, if you're just cooking for yourself, your weekly calories is what matters. So if you have 220 grams of rice on Monday and 180 grams on Tuesday, and it's a little bit off each day, but at the end of the week, it all levels out, then you're good to go. So I tell any of my lifestyle people, you don't have to weigh it, just get containers and eyeball it, and you'll be darn near close enough.
Yep.
Yeah. I like that because sometimes like I'll cook for me and Allie, and it's like, okay, I'm eating 75% of this. She's eating 25. We're both tracking our macros. I want to be a little bit more accurate, but if it's just for me, super easy to just kind of portion it out that way.
If you eyeball stuff, it's only going to be like a few grams off, if anything. It's not going to really hurt you.
Yeah, and it'll only be off for that day. It's not going to be off for the whole week, and that's really what, you know, your energy expenditure is going to come out about the same. So for most people, I think it's safe to eyeball it. Meal prep hacks. I think Brooke mentioned this earlier. I think this is worth saying. Like, don't cook your tofu and then cook your rice and then cook your green beans. Do it all at once. Get everything running together. As long as it's things that you can manage. And then this sounds like really common knowledge, but maybe to some people it isn't. Like if it takes an hour to cook your tofu, 30 minutes to cook your rice, and 15 minutes to cook your veggies, start with the longest one first. That way it finishes earlier and it finishes around the time the others are finished, and then you can put them all back in Tupperware and go from there. For traveling, I recommend getting like some sort of container that you can carry your prepped meals in. I have like a backpack that does it. I have a rolly backpack. And if you're going to if you're trying to decide between a hotel and an Airbnb, I would say, are you just hanging out somewhere, or are you trying to actually cook there? If you're going to cook there, most Airbnbs have everything you need, like pans, pots, spatulas, things of that nature.
Yeah. I think you just have to do the best you can when you're traveling.
Yeah. Unless you're a competitor, then you don't really get that option. You just have to do it.
Yeah, make it happen, get a kitchen, or just stay your ass in place.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Any other meal prep advice? Honestly, like meal prep is healthier. It's healthier than eating processed foods. It is always cheaper to prep your foods at home than to go out and eat. So if
Yep.
cost is a big deal to you, it's a time saver. A lot of people say I don't have time to meal prep, but really you take that 1 or 2 hours and then you're done for the week. So I do recommend for the majority of people that you look into it. Um, that's all I think I can bring to this one.
Yeah, I think this was solid. I think we gave a ton of tips. Yeah.
We have another listener question. So, yay, thank you guys for submitting. We want to get as many of these as possible. You can go to veganswholiftpodcast.com and drop us a question there, and we're going to pull it up and answer it for you guys.
Does doing the big three, deadlifts, squats, and bench press, get you to looking great? Or are there other moves that are better to build muscle and to look great?
Okay. I have
Good
my
question.
thoughts. Thank you, Len. That is a good question because it's really thrown around that you have to squat, you have to bench, you have to deadlift. Would you say, Brooke, that those are the best ways to build a great physique?
Um, I don't think it's necessary by all means. I mean, I think you can build a great physique without really any of those. Or, like me personally, I don't do a lot of squats. They just don't really work for me, but I do deadlift. I don't really do a lot of bench press at all, maybe incline here and there, but that's about it. I think really I mean, especially if you're going for aesthetics, that's mostly going to be diet. And then, building a good physique. I think it's just continually progressing in the same lifts, progressive overload, getting stronger, increasing your weights, continuing to challenge yourself. But yeah, I don't think you have to do squat, bench, deadlift to get a great physique by any means.
I will back you up on that one. I would argue there's no single exercise needed to get a great physique. Like you could pull out every exercise ever made and take 20 of them away and say, go make a great physique. And you could still do it. The biggest thing here is just like everything else in life, there's an opportunity cost. And when you pick squat, bench, and deadlift, you're picking three of the most technical movements possible. Powerlifters, they spend decades working on their form. And with squat, bench, and deadlift, none of these movements are you really perfectly locked into place. There's a lot of balancing aspects. It's almost a very athletic movement. And some people, myself, are not super athletic. So instead of taking years to master the barbell squat, you could take weeks to master the hack squat and then have years to become very proficient at the hack squat and push very hard and build a lot of muscle. So I would even advocate that those are great movements, squat, bench, and deadlift. They're great movements if you have the time to learn them, the patience to learn them, and understand the risks involved. However, if you're trying to get the best physique possible as fast as possible, it's very rare for me to program those into my clients' plans. So I typically wouldn't push for it. Whereas it's a complete opposite of what I was taught when I started. When I was in high school, everybody's like, you have to squat, bench, and deadlift. Those are the most important. I would say for building a good physique, like Brooke said, like an incline dumbbell press or an incline Smith bench press is going to be better for men and women trying to build their physiques than a flat barbell press, in my opinion. So not vital, not necessary. You can do it if you love them, if that's what makes you happy. But I would say definitely not necessary. There's other better alternatives. Cool. Well, you guys, thank you for listening. Can let us know. You can leave us a review. Let us know if this episode was worthwhile, if you learned anything or not. Whatever platform you're on, give us all the 5 stars, all the things, and that's really going to help us grow. So really humbly asking, if you've been listening to this, we're not charging you guys. We're trying to give out all the free information we can. And all we ask is that you leave us a review so that we know that you guys are and enjoying it. I mean, if you hated this episode, let us know too, but I would be shocked because how could you hate this? Come on now. There's some trolls out there. Y'all didn't talk about eating meat enough. Well, talk about eating vegan meat. But yeah, leave us a review. It'll help us grow. Check out everything on the Vegans Explore Network. We got other podcasts on there, like Pre-Vegans podcast. So if you're somehow on here, but like leaning in that direction, go check that out. Yeah. All right. I'm going to cut it off. I'm not going to ask y'all to do too many things. Just leave that review. That's all we need. That's all we need. So I am John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan. And as always, I'm here with my co-host, Brooke Sellers, aka Meatless Muscle. This has been season 2. Season 2? Good Lord.
Season
Episode
5.
2. Season 5. Vegans Who Live podcast. We're keeping it raw, real, unedited. I'm bringing you the best I got. This is what I got. This is the meal prep episode. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all next week.